Hi and welcome to a shoulder series. I'm going to look at how our shoulders should be able to move today, and then we'll see if we can make some improvements on that. So if you've had an injury on your shoulder, or you just find you're really tight through your shoulders, or you have pain, then join me for this. If you can get a full-length mirror, or any kind of a mirror, or any kind of reflective window or anything that you can do this in, so if you put your phone or whatever you're watching this on in front of that, and you can see behind what you're actually doing with your arms. So you want to be able to see if your shoulders are symmetrical. Now, symmetrical doesn't necessarily mean pain-free, but it gives us some indications as to where maybe some issues lie or where there's some restrictions. So if you have, as I said, a mirror ideally, or something that you can see yourself in, or if you take a video of yourself and then you have to watch it obviously back later on and see. So what our shoulders should be able to do is rise up. So we shrug our shoulders, and all of these movements will double up as exercises as well as stretches. So we'll shrug up and have a look and see if they're symmetrical. So if one is higher than the other, then that immediately tells you that the muscle maybe on that side isn't working as well. There's some restrictive tightness on the underneath side, or there's something else going on that we'll hopefully try and figure out. So shrug them both up. And then you can also do them singly, so you can get a sense of how they feel. So you can feel what muscles are maybe working, whether there's pain associated with the movement, or whether it moves quite freely. So then we should be able to turn our arms inwards, so our thumbs turning inwards, and we should be able to turn our arms outwards. So that means that the rotation in the shoulder joint is working. So you can do a very simple one here where you're just turning through the shoulder joint. And again, do both and see if there's a difference in how far your arm turns or how it feels. So turning them both out and in. And then we should be able to raise our arms up to the side. So if we bring our arms up, watch at the speed they're traveling. So if one is already higher than the other, just see how fast or how different they're traveling maybe. So bring them both up, and then bring them all the way up to the top. So again, you might notice that one arm doesn't fully straighten, or it does, but there's pain when it does. So just make note of all these things. You can actually make a note on a piece of paper if you want, or mental note if that'll do you. So reach, and you may already know that one arm doesn't reach when you pull off your jumper or something. It hurts to reach your arm up, or maybe when you're swimming or something else. You can also do the same movement forwards. So obviously all movements should be able to be done in any sort of angle or direction. So again, you might find that when you come up, one arm lags behind a bit. It's a lot more effort to bring that arm up. You kind of feel your whole body pulling the arm up rather than the muscles in the shoulder. So things like that. While we're up here, we'll do our shoulder shrugs again. So we'll see how the shoulders function in this angle. Sometimes when you change the angle of how your arms are, the muscles work a little bit better or worse. But we hope for better. So shrugging them up and back down. And again, you might notice that one shoulder can do this better. You can put your hands together and see if there's a difference when you shrug up. So both of them should be shrugging up the same. So one might be doing this. You can also do that purposefully. So do them one-sided and just see if you can get a little bit of stretch in that way. We'll bring them out to the sides and try our rotations again. So our rotations were our thumbs turning inwards, or downwards in this case, and turning outwards. Now you will have some movement in your hands and wrists, which is fine. Don't pull your thumb across too much. Try to make the movement happen within the shoulder socket. So you're turning the thumb in both directions, or the shoulder. And again, you might notice that one simply doesn't turn as far as the other. Now that would be quite obvious. It might be a little bit less obvious. You might have to look to the sides and see if there's a difference. So rotating through the shoulders. Again, you can do this alternatively, so you do one turning one way and one the other, and that will create a little bit more stretch through the shoulders. It'll also mean you're coordinating movement a little bit better. So learning how the shoulders move and learning how to move them separately, etc. So if there has been pain, or if there is pain, sometimes that can be really difficult to do. So twisting one in, one out, or one clockwise, one anti-clockwise. And then from there, we'd also like to be able to rotate our arm inwards, kind of with a 90-degree bend, so crossing it over your own body, and outwards. So sort of anchor it into the side of your body. You can also put a towel here if you need, and then rotate it in and rotate it out. Now we'd like that to be kind of in line with your body, but often it doesn't go that far. So you might find one arm does, one arm doesn't again. So you can do this singly first, so you can cross your arm over, and we'll do both sides of course. And then you can double up, especially for the outwards rotation, so you can get an idea of whether they both go as far. And when you do both, you can often feel your shoulders working a little bit more. You're kind of squeezing your shoulder blades together at the back. So pulling them out. Make sure we don't push the ribs out. So pull in the ribs and then rotate through the shoulder. And again, all movements can be done at different angles. So you can also do your internal and external rotation here. So you're turning up or outwards, as it were, what we did a moment ago, and inwards and outwards. And again, you can do both at the same time, so you can see if there's a difference, or you can do them singly. Watch that the elbow doesn't drop. So keep an eye on that the elbow stays at shoulder height. So internal rotation and then external rotation. And again, you'd like that the hand to sort of line up with your head, maybe a little bit behind that. If it's sort of here, and again I'll show that sideways, if it's only coming up to about here, then there's often a lot of tightness at the front of the shoulder here that's not allowing it. And there's also weakness here, these muscles aren't pulling down and around. So we'll try and sort all those over the next few series. For this, we'll just do one more movement here, turning the thumbs inwards. We'll reach back. And you can do this with any kind of direction of arm for the moment. What we'll add a movement to this, so we'll turn the thumbs in and reach back. So we should be able to reach back as well as forward. And then from there, we'll turn the thumbs at yourself, inwards as it were, and rotate through the shoulders. Pull the ribs in at this point, continue to rotate. As you get to about shoulder height, you'll turn your thumbs up. And as you travel past shoulder height, you'll turn your thumbs backwards. So you kind of mix in all the movements we've just done. Bring the arms up to the top, and then from there we'll rotate thumbs inwards and reverse the movement out. And again, you can do this with both arms as I'm doing at the moment, or you can do this with one arm at a time. So if you have a lot of pain or very different muscle issues in each shoulder, you might want to do these one arm at a time. Otherwise, do them both, because it gives you that feeling of, or that visual as well, of doing them kind of similar. So again, if one arm is doing this much quicker, or there's pain associated with the movement, try and sort of make a mental or an actual note of it, and we'll try and get through that in the next video, which will include sort of self-massage, ways of loosening, stretching the muscles, to give us some kind of window of opportunity, as I like to call it, where we then work and strengthen the muscles to try and change how they function, or how they can function. So we'll do one more back down again. From up there, turn the thumbs in, rotate through the shoulder, and you want to do this as sort of 2-3 miles an hour pace, so quite slowly as you go around. And often you get this sort of snap, crackle and pop going on. Don't force the shoulder. So if it's painful or if it's making a lot of noise, don't force it. So with that in mind, we'll do one last little thing, and that is to check how the shoulder interacts with the rest of the body. So when we reach the arm up, can we reach from the side, or are we restricted on the side? Or is the restriction going down? Because our shoulders attached to the rest of our body. So have a little side bend and see where that feels. So you might find then that your elbow doesn't want to straighten, and that's usually because something is kind of holding it back here. So again, that would be stuff we'll look at in the next video. So reach and see if there is restriction on the side. And then the same for the top of the shoulder. So we'll tip the head to the side. And if you find that immediately here the shoulder has to jump up, then again that will mean that the restriction is coming maybe from the neck as well. So again, something we'll look at as we go. So tip that each way and have a look and see whether the shoulders react to your neck movement. And then just while I'm talking, you can roll your shoulders a little bit just to kind of feel, and often you get this sort of noise in the shoulders, and when we hear noise we sometimes become afraid that we can't move it, or we shouldn't move it, or we're going to damage it when we move it. Now a lot of these sort of, I call them snap, crackle, pop movements, whatever you want, crunchy movements, they're not something to worry about. They do mean there's something going on, but they don't mean that something is going to wear out, or something is going to fall off or pop off or crack off or whatever. So reverse that shoulder roll, and we'll have a little check as to why those sort of joints, muscles make that noise in the next video. So join me for that, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.